The building sustained heavy gunfire by British forces throughout that Easter week rebellion, and scars of those machine gun fire can still be found on the front of the building today. So we're here now at the entrance of Fleet Street on the way into Temple Bar, and I want to talk a bit now about the Palace Bar stationed here behind me, which has many literary connections of the 20th century here to Dublin's history. And one Irish writer of the 20th century who was associated with the bar is Brendan Behan. Now, Brendan Behan was born in Dublin in 1923, this year being his 100th birthday. Behan grew up in the inner city. From a Republican family, he became a member of the IRA, and in 1939, at the age of just 16, he was arrested in Liverpool and spent some years in the Borstal prison over in England. Now, his time there would go on to inspire works like The Borstal Boy, Confessions of an Irish Rebel. Later becomes very well known for writing plays like The Quare Fella as well. Now, Brendan Behan becomes associated with Dublin pubs because he had always described himself as a drinker with a writing problem. Unfortunately for Brendan, in 1964, aged only 40, he passed away from drink-related problems at the time. Hence why he's remembered in so many pubs in Dublin here, like the Palace Bar on Fleet Street. So here to my right is the old entrance to Kilmainham Jail here on the south side of Dublin City. The jail was opened in 1796, and throughout the 19th century it became the holding place of many well-known Irish political figures. Say in the early 1880s, Charles Stewart Parnell was imprisoned here in Kilmainham during the land wars of those times. As well, in 1882, it was also the place of execution of many of the Irish National Invincibles. They were a radical separatist group from the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and they were responsible for carrying out the Phoenix Park murders of Lord Frederick Cavendish and Thomas Henry Burke in May of 1882. They found themselves executed here in Kilmainham Jail, their remains still buried within the yard of the jail here today. So it's just on the other side of these prison walls, inside the prison yard, that the 14 leaders were executed by firing squad in the aftermath of the Easter Rebellion 1916. So behind me here is a sculpture just across the old entrance of Kilmainham Jail. This sculpture here behind represents the 14 executed leaders from inside Kilmainham Jail in the aftermath of the Easter Rebellion in 1916. Now, these leaders, although they ultimately failed in overthrowing British rule in Ireland during the Easter Week Rebellion, their legacy would go on to inspire a new generation who would go on to lead the War of Independence in Ireland from January of 1919. The legacy comes across throughout the country and further afield when stories of some of these executed leaders emerge in the aftermath of their execution. Stories like James Connolly, who had been badly wounded in the GPO and was tied to a chair in the prison yard of Kilmainham Jail and executed while sat in that chair, too weak to stand before the firing squad. Other stories that take place inside the jail, like the marriage of Joseph Plunkett and Grace Gifford in the small chapel the night before Joseph was executed on the evening of the 3rd of May 1916. It's these stories that emerge that go on to inspire that new generation in the years to follow, represented here in the statue across from the original entrance of the jail itself. We're standing here at the Princes Street entrance to the GPO, and through the doorway here behind me there was a young 26-year-old volunteer stationed during the Easter Week Rebellion, and his name was Michael Collins. Michael Collins at that stage held the rank of staff captain in the Irish Volunteers, and he served as the aide-de-camp to Joseph Plunkett during his time inside of the GPO. By the end of Easter week, of course, the GPO had been abandoned. Collins was then arrested and imprisoned in the rebellion's aftermath. So we're stood outside the General Post Office of the GPO on O'Connell Street in Dublin. This building was the headquarters of the Easter Week Rebellion 1916, with members of the Provisional Government, the Irish Volunteers and the Citizen Army stationed inside. The building sustained heavy gunfire by British forces throughout that Easter Week Rebellion, and scars of those machine gun fire can still be found on the front of the building today. If you notice the bullet holes up along here that were caused by machine gun fire fired upon the building here during Easter Week 1916, as well as during the Irish Civil War, they can be seen right up through the Portland stone pillars that run all along the front facade of the GPO itself. So you here have St Stephen's Green in the centre of Dublin City, St Stephen's Green being another outpost of the rebellion in 1916. Here you had Irish volunteers and members of the Irish Citizen Army under the command of Michael Mallon and the Countess Markievicz, based inside the Green, also the Royal College of Surgeons and City Hall in the centre of the city. It was here in the Green they began digging trenches all throughout the centre of it, burrowing themselves inside, and based here during that Easter Week Rebellion at the end of April 1916. After the volunteers and the Citizen Army members start digging trenches on the inside of St Stephen's Green, the British forces come in to surround the green from the outside. They head up onto the rooftops of the buildings overlooking the green, like the ones that are here behind us today. They are using machine guns. They began firing on down at the insurgents inside St Stephen's Green. Outside the original site of St Vincent's Hospital, it was here, after Michael Collins' death on the 22nd of August 1922, that his body was brought by boat, the SS Classic, here to Dublin, and it was laid in state inside St Vincent's Hospital before being transported out to City Hall before his burial in Glasnevin Cemetery on the 28th of August 1922. So thank you very much for watching the video today. I hope you have enjoyed and learned something along the way. If you do want to find out more about any of the sites or stories we talked about here today, you can come and visit us here in Glasnevin Cemetery. Join a guided walking tour. You can book tickets for those on the Dublin Cemeteries Trust website, and we do hope to see you here soon. Thank you very much.